So, my art progressed throughout the years. When I started out drawing, we'll call this the never go back phase. So basically, I started off in this group called My Little Pony Editors Rock OCs, or it was something like that. It was something about how RCs were amazing. And of course, this is what got me into drawing in the first place was My Little Pony. That's where all my art roots come from, which is why even though I'm not too into it all nowadays, I still will draw it because I put so much time and effort into it all that I might as well force myself to keep this talent that I have honed for myself. But either way, it was in this chat or group, I'd rather say, that I learned something that definitely would nowadays be an instant red flag for most people, but to a little middle school me, maybe late elementary? Like early middle school, late elementary, maybe in that summer time. This kind of made sense to me at the time, but basically, people would post pictures of their OCs. However, the picture of their OC, it would always say something like, until I get a ref, this is what blank looks like. And it would be an edited picture that someone else had already drawn. For all I know, it could be a commission, but they would take the pictures, edit them, and then just put, oh, well, until I get a ref, this is what my character looks like so you all know. Now, at the time, being the young age I was, I thought this was an amazing idea. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to draw either, so what I did for my first ever OC was I looked at My Little Pony fan art, and I knew I wanted my OC, this is so cliche, I wanted her to be like this really pretty but badass OC who had basically all the looks and every stallion wanted her, but she was like an assassin. So what I ended up doing was I got a fan art picture of Fleur de Lis from My Little Pony, and I literally just saturated her hair to a more pinkish red and made it a lot more bright. I upped the saturation a lot. Just know that in the end. And I learned how using GIMP to like select her eyes only, so I was able to make them like this really bright blue. Because of course, it sounds so bad thinking back on it. But then I realized that Flair's cutie mark was there, so I had to like, using the only knowledge I had about GIMP, I basically like selected the area. I turned it all white and like tried to phase it in, and I went and got this whip cutie mark that definitely wasn't mine. And I wish I could find the original pictures to show you guys how bad this was, but it was atrocious. And I said, until I get my art, this is my character, and I explained who she was and that she's a private bodyguard, but most people believe she's like a date or an escort, and oh god, little me didn't know what an escort was. Oh yeah, okay, she was too innocent for this world. Either way, it was soon after this I moved to bases, which were essentially I'd take a base and just color, and I wouldn't like outline hair or anything. I would just like use a full marker to do the hair, and it was really bad. But it was maybe a month or two in that I met two friends, and we're gonna call them Push and Twix. So Push and Twix were pretty valued members in this group. And basically what they did was they encouraged me to try editing. So what happened was they showed me all their art. And I'm like, your guys' art's great, but this picture's the same. And they're like, oh yeah, that's because it's edited. And I didn't know what this meant yet. I didn't understand the harm in editing yet either. So here's what happened to me. I ended up believing that, one, what I was doing was okay and safe. And what we were doing was basically taking these pictures that belonged to different artists, and without their permission, these were not bases, these were not open collabs, we basically just stole the pictures and drew our OCs in the place of their OCs, making a couple changes. And this is when the birth of my first real OC that I kept around happened. And of course it was still My Little Pony, so I was drawing her all the time, and it was around the first boost of her like popularity, but it wasn't good, and it wouldn't last for long. Soon I ended up in this position where my first DeviantArt was created. And if you guys don't know, I had a DeviantArt before the one I'm currently on, Little Cheery-chan, and it was just labeled Meister Girl Rose. And it was on this account where I would post all my edits and everything. But I never gave credit to the original artist. I never acted like they existed. Because to me, I was the one who put all the work in. And me and my friends spent hours on these pictures, which, trust me, I was too stupid to know, oh, just open GIMP, redraw lines. Perfect. No, I took the hard route of literally printing out the picture. Once it was printed, I put the picture under my mom's white table. She had like this white glass small table, and there were 2 layers to the glass. I would put it under the first layer, and then I'd put a picture on top of the second, and I would hand draw everything, and then I'd ink it. And then once that was done with, I'd take a picture. Yeah, I didn't even realize that I could definitely scan and make this easier on myself. I took a picture, sent it to myself or a friend of mine on Facebook, and then I would get it on my computer and start coloring, which was horrid. Those pictures definitely, I hope, have died in a hole. Oh, that account has some terrifying memories. But eventually, of course, I was heard about. And I'm going to make a small side note before I enter this. I'm not truly upset with the artist that this happened with. I'm more upset with the fact she let her fans do this and then joined in on it herself. Because remember, at the time of doing this, I'm a middle schooler. I'm a young kid. She is maybe a high schooler, an adult. I think she was an actual adult. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's an adult, not a high schooler at the time of this. So, I don't think it was handled best. But basically, I got stormed. And it all started with a comment that said, "You're about to get a lot of attention." And eventually, the artist herself even jumped in on all the bullying and ranting. And when I said, this art took me hours to produce, why are you all hating on me so much? She put, "This took you hours to produce? It looks like shit." And my heart was broken that not only had an artist I loved called my art shit, but I still didn't realize I was in the wrong. Now, I still think she was in the wrong for not only pushing her fans and her community to do this, but to engage on it herself. And I'm happy the 3 other artists that I mainly took art from didn't engage in it the way she did. But I did learn something from this. And what I learned was everything I'd need to create my own photos. My original photos. Now, my first originals weren't that good, but from all the tracing you could say I had done, I think that'd be the best word, is tracing, I had learned down to a key. exactly how, like, the bodies should look. So there actually is a benefit to the fact that I was tracing. I'm not saying trace and go steal people's art and claim, but I'm saying there actually was a good thing to tracing because it taught me all these things. And it taught me things that I never would have known to learn otherwise, because it just wasn't stuff that I would have thought of. Like, I would have never thought that there should be an indent by the horse's back legs before it goes up to the rear, because I'm stupid. Sure, that's my reasoning. But either way, it was now on this page of my life where my new art kind of starts for me. So I'm going through and I'm creating these new OCs. I'm creating my own art style. But my page is still constantly filled with nothing but hate. And no matter what I did, the bullying wouldn't stop. The artist had stopped engaging in it, but I was still the target for all of her fans. And sadly, she wasn't doing much to stop it. I really think that even though I understand I was in the wrong, I feel like the situation was handled horribly. And I definitely reacted much different when something happened later. Now then. It took me a long time, but this isn't up to date yet. So, long time as in probably 2 years into my new art. I created a new account. I wanted all of the drama and everything to be gone. And my new name was My Little Pony Rosie Rocket, because that was my character's name. And I had decided to apologize. I went to these artists, heart in hand, and said, I'm sorry. I am so sorry for what I did. And I didn't even try to pull a, but you. And I basically explained myself. That I was a child and I didn't want to believe that what me and my friends were doing was wrong. The idea that me and my friends were doing something that was horrible and an atrocity and that it was stealing, that didn't make sense to me. I wouldn't admit to that. I couldn't admit to that. But now I knew how it felt, and I told her that someone had recently stolen my art. And that I felt the rage she did. I didn't send all my fans to go after her, the girl who stole my art, but I did get it taken down, and a couple of my friends and me eventually convinced her to stop what she was doing, because I told a certain friend of mine about all of this, and he went and got his group to go report her for stealing the art. And it was very obvious to see that it was my art because mine had been uploaded before hers. So it was kind of funny to hear her say that it was her art when I was sitting there like, bro, how is it yours if I had it first? Either way though, with all this, I told her I was sorry, that I truly understand what I did was wrong now. And I asked her forgiveness. And she did forgive me. But she still kind of used me as a laughingstock. She later posted something along the lines of, this is why I don't make bases, and one of my pictures was in it, using my characters without my permission, and since I was just trying to live a peaceful, normal life now, I didn't want any of the drama from before, I had to message her and say, please do not use my characters. I was nice enough to come to you apologizing for everything I have done. Do you not think I deserve to let everything that has happened be, like, lived down? Do you not think I deserve this? She never responded, but she's never posted anything about my characters since. So I think we're good. Though I doubt she'd ever be my friend or anything like that. Either way. It's now that we kind of move into the last part of my art. Nowadays, I slowly went from drawing horses to other animals. And then, of course, I learned about bases again, and this time, now knowing how to properly use them, I was able to learn how to slowly draw furries and anthropomorphic creatures. Though I definitely wasn't a furry, I only really drew my friends' furry characters, and I made one character so that they could draw me, but I didn't really have a character. I preferred my ponies at the time. But it is good that I started drawing all this because eventually it led to me finally drawing humans. And although I still don't really think I can draw human males too well, though I've had people argue I'm doing pretty good, it's been years and finally I can draw humans. And they don't look like frogs. A joke for people who, although I don't think any of you might get it, I can explain, I suppose. Basically, back when I was first trying, I tried to draw a picture of a girl, and it was supposed to be me, but she ended up just looking like a frog, and I had never been more disgusted and horrified. I was very upset with it. But all of this had another lining to it. Now I needed to learn other things. So using art tutorials, looking up how other people drew, looking at some of my favorite artist styles, I went from cringy anime and all that bull to a cartoonish style that has detail and center in the eyes and definitely knows how to show emotion well. I'm still working on a style now, and if you go through my art, it's definitely changed a lot over the years. But I worked for a really long time to be able to show that my art is not going to just be another cliche anime art. I want to one day make a real thing out of my art. I want my art to be my job. I want to create TV shows. So this is a passion of mine. Now I mainly draw people, and I don't draw ponies too much anymore, but I did decide to do this picture because one of the first pictures I ever did, which you guys will get to see at the end here, was a base version, then a version I drew, then the first version of this picture, and then this is the redraw of the character with all the skills I have now. As for my goals for 2019, or what I believe it has in store for me, I'm hoping to get my characters done and ready to show you guys that I will be producing some short animations to give you an idea of the characters for Dessert Diaries and everything else. So this is the picture a little more up close, just to let you see kind of like the detail, because in the next picture it's a lot harder to see all those details. Plus, I currently use the app VSDC free video editor, and it's really hard in that app to basically your pictures have to be really tiny if you want full anything, like full detail to be shown. Your pictures must be so tiny. So I actually had to get the things and scale them, and it wasn't my favorite thing in the world to do, but it was funny for me to get to see in the end how all the art turned out. And I'm sorry if there's some background noise right now. Apparently my mice have realized I am home and have decided to be as loud as possible because they're like, "Mom's recording," and not giving us attention. Time to be as loud as heckin' possible. So finally, going down the line, we can see the first picture, which was a base, and the character's name was like, there were ideas that went from Tori to Galaxy to Galloping Galaxy. There was a lot. But the first picture was a base, and that was my first attempt at the Galaxy Rainbow Dash hair, and oh my god, it was horrible. Oh, thank god, base. But then we move on to my first real art. I drew it by myself, and of course it's not the best, but no one starts out perfect. And with that one, we finally can see that Allie learned some gradients, or cheery, whatever you want to call me. And I kind of learned more about saturation, but I didn't have my eye details yet. We move on to the third picture, and that's the, I wish they would stop. Can you stop it? Why? Why now? The third picture is the one she's obviously being redrawn in. I tried to get her in a similar pose, though I decided I wanted her wings to be more out. I wanted her eyes to actually be open. And in the fourth picture, that was just kind of me trying to redraw the character. And once again, I still didn't know galaxies, so that's a thing. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Have a great night.